where the stage. Even when you just realize that you are not this body, these were different things. I understand that I am not this body, and I understand that I am spirit soul. These are slightly two different things. Even when you understand that you are not this body, it creates a revolution in the life of devotees or ordinary people. Suddenly they are inspired to come to the process of spirituality. They have hundreds and thousands of metaphysical questions. Just when you understand that you are not this body. When you would come to the understanding where you start feeling that you are the spirit soul, that will create the greatest disruption ever in your lives. All mundane relationships, although you may keep it intact, but essentially it just falls off. Everything of this world appears a severe, severe burden. It may be a little thing. Just at the glimpse of the abhas of Atma, this is the output of experiences for a being. So imagine Krishna has spoken all of that and he has given Arjuna all the knowledge that is good for him to get liberated. Essentially, the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and so on. But then now he is saying, I am going to speak Paramavachana. That's why I say he himself is not excited. Why? Because I consider you Priya, I consider you very dear to me. That also means that Krishna trusts the intelligence of Arjuna. This is a very high level position. That you may love someone so much, but do you trust him with understanding? Love and trust are two different things. You can love an ordinary person, you can love a drunkard, a beggar, you can love even a demon. Although at the end of the day he is a part and parcel of Krishna. But to trust is a very different thing. He trusted him that you have the capacity to understand the Param, greatest of the knowledge. And I will be telling you Hita down the line for your own benefit, and therefore this thing comes. Sarvam etat ritam manye yan mama vadasi Keshava. So in the Sanskrit language, a couple of years ago, I got an opportunity to learn Sanskrit with greater depth under some of the great teachers of India. And that led me to appreciation of the construction of certain grammar and words, which is so beautiful. For example, the word Keshava. Wherever you have this word coming at the end of a suffix, it also refers something which belongs to, like Raghava belonging to the Raghu dynasty, Yadava belonging to the Raghu dynasty. So it is where someone is physically associated. So interestingly, in the Vishnu Sahasranam, you have these words, Keshava, Madhava. And they do not exactly refer to one who kills Keshi demon or that way. It refers to the property of that. So Vishnu has very beautiful hair. Therefore, he is called as Keshava. So it also refers that way. That means Lord has form. Essentially, those who conceive of Krishna just being impersonal is defeated by just these words. He is not just impersonal. In the absolute truth, as the Siddhanta also, yes, form. So, where Arjuna is now saying here, Sarvam etat idham manye yan ma vadasi Keshava, in the first 13 verses till now, the Chatushlaki Bhagavad Gita was also discussed. And so many other things have been discussed in the 7th chapter, 8th chapter and 9th chapter as well on this whole discussion of how Krishna is personally and impersonally presented everywhere. And therefore, even after all this, Arjuna is saying it is very difficult to understand you. Even if one tries to understand you with whatever material intelligence one has. So to understand God, you don't need actually just philosophy. You can understand God through various ways. For example, or let's say the absolute truth. Except for Krishna or Ram performing pastimes, you can understand the supreme absolute truth without the support of Puranas. Like the all-pervading truth, something which is eternal, and all those definitions. So, for example, if you were, I don't know how many of you follow mathematics or physics, the latest of the discoveries which have happened in the last couple of years, the Nobel Prize winners and so on in physics and the Fields Medal, it's amazing conclusions which they have found out in line with the Upanishads. And they are now acknowledging that it is only the Hindu or Vedic literatures which give some idea to these things. So this is a significant conclusion and attribution and acknowledgement to our Vedic literatures. We should feel proud about it. The problem is we are so culturally involved that we just take it for granted. Whereas the scientists, the Nobel scientists, they are like baffled. So, mathematician tries to understand the truth through mathematics, and they come to this conclusion that there must be a super intelligent creator. A physicist tries to come to that conclusion through that. Someone who is into astronomy, he gets baffled with the grand creation. Like I was reading, that for every grain of sand in this world, how many grains of sand? Can you calculate? Grain of sand. Can you imagine scientists have found out how many grains of, for every grain of sand there are 100,000 stars, like sun. And still the number of atoms in the universe are even more than that. So it's a mind-boggling conclusion which they come. And they attribute that it is only Vedic literatures who speak about these things. It is only the Vedic literatures who speak about the idea of inconceivable, where Krishna is saying here. Nahi te bhagwan vyakti vidur deva na danava. This idea that Krishna is not being able to fathom, is unfathomable even by the Devatas and the Danavas. So, the skill of a physicist is through physics trying to understand the core, the root. The skill of a mathematician, he tries to find the truth. When I was in my engineering, one of my friends, a musician, I say this so many times, he was so fascinated with music, and I have never seen someone in person, I have never seen someone who loved music so much, that I did my mechanical engineering and he was in computers. So we would go together to college, he would enter the computer department, I would enter the mechanical department. Even during exams we would do that. So some exams were like, okay, I have not studied. And he would say, I have also not studied. So we'll come out in 30 minutes. Because 30 minutes is compulsory. By the way, I cleared my mechanical with first class. So I'm not mistaken. So, but there were some exams where you did not prepare well. So, there was one exam where I had studied so well and I wanted to score well. So we entered the classroom. In 30 minutes, I see this fellow out of my classroom indicating. I'm like, this is such a good paper. I have to score. He pestered me so much. Come on, and I actually gave. I said, okay, I will at least write till my passing mark. So 40 was the passing mark, and I put the answers till 45 marks, and I was so sure whatever I written I scored. So I answered it 45 and I came out. And he was like showing me a paper on the back side of the room. Now he had a lot of musical sense. He said, look what I found out. And it was all a tal which was inspired in him. Like a musician composes some music, so he composed a tal. Tatte, dhinna, and I was like, you called me out only for this. He said, you don't know what this is just. And then we went to his studio. The entire night we were just with music. So from about 2 p.m. in the afternoon till 6 a.m. in the morning, without any sleeping, just playing music and for the tal. And I have seen him getting those kind of exciting emotions. And then through him I learned that there are people who sing certain tones in such a manner that when it reaches certain frequency, they get darshan of a particular devata. This is supported by our Vedic literature also. What I want to say is perfection of the truth, perfection of life can be attained also through music. Krishna is accessible through anything and everything. So here, and then the devatas, how the devatas try to understand the truth through the yajnas, through their mysticism. How the Danavas try to conceive of the truth through sheer raw power. Like if someone is the truth, let him face me, let me defeat him. So for Ravan, he will accept Vishnu as the supreme truth only if he can kill him. If Vishnu can kill him. All the demons were like that. The test or the conception of truth, everyone tries to conceive through his own intelligence and so on. So he is saying, therefore this word is not just Devatas and Danavas. We have to imbibe the whole personality of what a Devata is and what a Danava is. They are going to try to conceive the truth that way. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, very interesting episodes come of Indra who tries to conceive the truth through the Govardhan pastimes. So he is like, he cannot accept a little boy of about 7 years of age changing the whole course of hundreds of years of tradition just by mere argument. He is unable to accept it. Why? Because Krishna has chosen not to reveal his personality to Indra. Now, Indra is not an ordinary person. He is a person who presides over the Pancha Mahabhut, earth, water, air, fire and ether. One who understands in complete how the elements operate. It's a very, very high position. Sometimes devotees think all the devatas achieve it. It's a very, very high position. We get baffled, we get influenced by being in charge of just a small program or temple or maybe a small company or just a small house. The levels of ego which an ordinary person has is unbelievable. To baffle an ordinary person, you just give him 3 or 4 people who listen to him, he starts feeling he's God. It is so easy. Just because 100 or 1,000 people listen to you, or let's say you are a celebrity is also very big. Restaurant, even in a small bhakti vision is enough. I am the flower in charge, I am the cooking in charge, I am the HOD or whatever. That is enough to destroy a person. This is the level of a person that Ishwaratva, the tendency to lord over, is so deeply entrenched that it takes nothing to disrupt our consciousness. Absolutely nothing. Someone appreciating you, even if someone appreciates you falsely, and you know that he is giving false appreciation, then also it is enough to flatter a person. So what to talk of someone who presides over the 5 elements? And that is why Indra, based on his power, he tried to challenge Krishna in such a manner. See, all of us, we try to understand Krishna from our perspective through the mind and senses. इंद्रियों के और वस्तुओं के उसको मध्य नजर रखते हुए, with the reference. So when we talk about spirit soul, we say if you are not, when you die, who is alive, or when you were 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and you are 60 years, who was that person? So we try to bring a sense of Atma with the reference of the body. With the reference of material things, we try to bring sense of Atma. Our entire understanding of God and the soul is only with reference to the senses and the objects around the world. We have not understood God independently without the mundane references. Like if you say, who is controlling all this universe? There must be some superpower. So the idea is because you see all of this. Suppose you were not able to see all of this, then what? Like Brahma's case, if you were just the only person, how would you exactly come to know? It's only when you see the grand and bafflement which then we say, oh, there must be something superior. So, the idea which Krishna is trying to tell to the Bhagavad Gita is trying to understand the Atma independently, God independently. Because when the understanding of Atma and God becomes independent of all mundane references, I know it is slightly tough. Then it becomes very different. Understanding the mundane things through the divinity, then the whole definition changes. This is what happens to Indra also. He has not understood the truth independent of the material creation. And therefore he thinks, oh, these people are honoring the word of little child. And he tries to disrupt it. In the 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, a very, very beautiful verse, very beautiful pastime comes, the 14th chapter, the Brahma Vimohan Lila, which we all know. So I am trying to give you an explanation what this word Vidur Deva na Danava. Dana Deva means here Indra tried his best to understand through manipulating 5 elements. Brahma went one step ahead. What is Brahma's body made up of? Intelligence. Brahma's body is made up of intelligence. So he tried. So that simply means that if he wants to do something, he is going to bring out the best of the ideas. Now, interestingly, what had happened, which we know the Krishna Lila, that as soon as Krishna was born, he had killed the Putana demon. No one actually saw it. They just saw a dead Putana and a little baby taking rest on the breast of Putana. They came to this conclusion that it must be some mysticism or some divine arrangement. ऐसा एक छोटा सा बालक, a small kid cannot kill it's obviously nobody will believe it. We believe it because our acharyas have told us. Otherwise, if such a thing would happen here, we would not believe. And we would also come to the same conclusion, maybe God has protected him. So the Brajvasis, they did not know that he himself is God who gives protection to everyone. But they came to the conclusion, maybe Narayan or Vishnu has protected him. So, because Krishna as an avatar had not taken place that time. It is only later, except for Garga Muni and some of the devatas. Nobody really knew that this small little child is the Param Brahma, Purna Purushottam Bhagavan. So therefore, after that he killed Shakatasur, then Trinavarta. So these all pastimes where no one saw Krishna doing this thing. They just saw the card broken and Krishna saved. They saw Putana dead and Krishna saved. They saw Trinavarta, like the demon, the dead demon, but nobody actually witnessed at least not the Brajvasis, that actually it was Krishna who killed. So it was always like this fellow is so lucky that somehow or other he is saved by some mystical power. That was the idea of Krishna. Because he was so charming, so whatever he would say, that would influence the mind and thoughts of people. It is natural. Someone who is beautiful, people tend to add more adjectives. That because he or she is beautiful, that means he is pure, he is truthful, he is kind. Right? We never associate beauty only with beauty. If someone is ugly, then we associate these things by default. I'm not trustworthy, stay away, danger. Right? If someone has a crooked looks, he may be a pure devotee, like their brother. But then, so when someone beautiful means he is absolute truth. This is the way how the material world is running. In Krishna's case, obviously, he is absolute truth. But he was so charming, his charm would block the intelligence in the minds of people right from childhood. So, one of the first pastimes when the entire Vrindavan saw Krishna being, where the entire Vrindavan saw that Krishna has some power, was the Kaliya Daman Leela. It was Krishna who would insist everyone that let's go and play. I am assuming that most of you know these pastimes. So there also people do not exactly see that how he has destroyed Kaliya underwater already and then he came. But at least that was the first instance where they saw some idea that actually Krishna has some mystical power. And that also gave faith to Brajvasis. Oh, maybe it was not Narayan who killed Putana or Shakatasur or Dhinavardha. It is actually this boy. But as soon as the pastime would happen and he would come immediately, I'm so hungry, please give me something. Automatically that would block the intelligence. There is no, okay, Narayan, again it is Narayan. So they would bring Narayan every time. But it was the first instance. The faith amongst all the Brajvasis was such that if your children are with Krishna, they are safe. That's a very big faith. They could also have come to this conclusion that wherever there is Krishna, there is always some problem. That was so easy. But because every time Krishna would come out safe and all the Brajvasis say the conclusion was as long as they are with Krishna, no problem. Krishna would decide where we will do which pastime, where we will go this day for grazing the cows, where we will do everything. So like that. It was Krishna who decided to go enter the cave of Aghasur, Bakasur. It was Krishna who would do these things. Naturally, many mothers would feel that, oh, you should not go here like this, but they would somehow consider, no, Krishna is always safe. So Brahma, he thought that very tactfully and masterfully Krishna does these pastimes and never ever there is some scratch on their body or even their mind, like the children don't come out disturbed. Today was horrible. You know, when you go with someone and you face some horrible thing, you like avoid dealing with that person or that situation. Never ever the Brajvasis or the cowherd boys would have this feeling that something is not right here. That is very interesting. Despite very gruesome and horrific, essentially, experience like Kaliya, it's not an ordinary thing. Even Aghasur, not ordinary, the snake actually closes the mouth and it's very horrible. And you know, after that, if the child would say, tomorrow let's go here, the first thing we are going to say, come on, yeah, just avoid it now, we'll play in our backyard. Let's go to safe zones. No one would actually consider this. So this means there was no dent in their emotion being with Krishna, there was no dent in their buddhi or intelligence. If Krishna is saying, just go. That was the idea. And therefore, Brahma used his intelligence to disrupt the faith of every Brajavasi, essentially. And he thought, let me hide all these cowherd boys and the cows, thinking that now, when he goes back home, when Krishna would go back alone, everybody in Vrindavan, in Gokul, they'll be totally hurt, mentally and emotionally disturbed. Their entire faith in Krishna throughout all these circumstances would get destroyed. This extraordinary faith they had, despite killing so many demons and always surrounded by chaos, still they were supporting Krishna. Now it will get disturbed. I remember one of my acquaintances, now there were 3 mischievous boys, and one of the boys would always inspire the other boys to go for a party or go for a picnic here and there. In one night party, while coming back home, they were slightly drunk and they met with an accident. 2 of the boys died, 1 remained. Because the other 2 died, the parents still hate the guy who is alive. The parents of those children who are dead, they hate the guy who is alive and they blame him only. It's as if, why are you alive? Because you need to hate someone, right? You have to engage that propensity. Not knowing that their sons also were part of this. So, when, let's say all of your children, sometimes they go for a picnic and party, and if all die, sorry, this is a wrong example. Someone else, take it on. And one of them remains. Everyone is going to tell, why did you tell them what to do? You were the one, because of you there was Agasur, because of you there was Kalya, this and that. This was the problem. This could have happened. This was Brahma's plan to disrupt the intelligence and the mind of every single Brajavasi. Destroy the faith in Krishna, pulverize it completely. It was not just disappearance act. And Brahma also was not convinced. He felt that he was actually not doubting Krishna being God in a positive sense. There was more doubt, there was more conviction that he is not the supreme absolute truth than the doubt that he is the supreme absolute truth. It was more on that side that he is going to achieve success. So imagine someone whose body is of intellect and he comes out with a sheer brilliant plan, and then after a moment when he comes after 1 year, all he sees is everything is intact. For those who are highly intelligent people, their ego is in their buddhi. You want to impress an intelligent person, come out with a more intelligent idea. You want to impress a powerful person, you come out with more power. It's always like that. So, the 10th canto, chapter 13, 14, the Brahma essentially gets bewildered and he offers the prayers to Krishna. And the prayers are in reference to you are Achintya. And he says that in time it may be possible that the scientists and the philosophers of the world will actually calculate atoms. How many atoms are there in the universe? Such a verse comes in the Brahma Vimohana. Why would Brahmaji use this reference of atoms? That shows that he has a very scientific or that kind of orientation, because he is pure intelligence. And he said in time it may be possible. Today science has identified roughly that there are 10 raised to 80 atoms in the universe. Now we cannot conceive of it, so if you go only 10 raised to 80, but 10 followed by 80 zeros, 80 is a very big number. Whether it's true or not is based on some speculation or some scientific calculations. But Brahmaji says that it may be possible, but it is going to be very inconceivable to understand you and your pastimes. And therefore, when this verse says, na deva na danavaha, it essentially means that you use anything. There will always be a limitation to understand the supreme absolute truth. Why? Because we only understand truth through the reference of the creation. That is the beauty of these pastimes. So again and again, the greatest of the people, they say these words. You are Achintya. So one word which comes very common for all the greatest of the devotees, whether it's Kunti or Bhishma, Munis, Parikshit, Ajamil, pastimes, Rahuguna, etc. etc. Everywhere there will be one prayer common where the word will come. You are Achintya, you are Achintya, you are Achintya, you are inconceivable. Even further, when Krishna is going to now tell Arjun, Paramavachara, I am going to tell you something about myself, now you hear. He is going to describe himself with reference to the material world, not independent by himself. Why? Because he knows that it is impossible to conceive of it. So these are extremely, and I was very fascinated by this, that the modern scientists have come to this conclusion that it is only the Vedic literatures which have this idea of inconceivable. Means what you can fathom through science and what is just not fathomable by any theory. So, anyways, I'll stop here. Thank you all very much. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu's question, I think you mentioned a few minutes back about the appreciation. We always seek appreciation. Even in small groups, again, we keep seeking appreciations. So my question is, how do we get rid of this mentality of seeking appreciation hungry? We are appreciation hungry in most of the medical settings. So how can we get rid of this mentality of seeking appreciation?
See, to begin with, if you seek some appreciation, it's fine, but being dependent on it, if our dharma or karma is very dependent on it, then it is it's a big problem, because sometimes we may not get appreciation also. So it's only through jnana that we can do. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, there is nothing better than jnana, because it is only through reasoning that one can get rid of these dependencies. The more we are attached to our body existence, the more we will seek all these appreciations. When our practices become a bit genuinely spiritual, we are motivated to do spirituality independently of anything. That's what I was also explaining, that our understanding of Atma and Paramatma is with reference to the world. When it becomes independent of that, then it's easier to deal with. So, honestly, start doing attentive chanting, start reading with genuine quest not for the sake of speaking or sharing or just for this, but for genuinely knowing when you are reading scriptures, think about it that this is something which I have to apply on myself and so on. So it helps. Try to minimize the noise and chaos of this world. So then you get attached to doing the right thing, irrespective of appreciation. It takes a while, but it's okay. Slowly, slowly. Then a stage will come that, like in case of Arjuna, the appreciation itself is something which you don't want. When Arjuna won the battlefield of Kurukshetra, obviously it was a great victory, right? But the nature of victory was such that the appreciation meant nothing. The chaos was so much, you killed all your cousins and loving ones. After that, the appreciation means nothing. But Krishna tried to tell him, do dharma for the sake of dharma, not for the sake of anything else. So when you don't get appreciation for something, become stubborn, that I want to do this thing now more. Because now it is a fight against yourself. I will do it even if I don't get appreciation. Otherwise, when will you learn, right? When will you learn? If we are always motivated by external things, we will never be able to, there will be zero progress. Yes. There will be a lot of knowledge, information, and maybe institutional positions, but there will be no experience. And does that help?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Prabhu here. Take this mic.
Probably just an extension of the same question, that is for the receiving of appreciation. But how that unknowingly deepens sometimes appreciating devotees, particularly a good lecture or any other aspects. And indirectly maybe we are crossing that and building that other person's time irrespective of next time some sort of more appreciation. How do we control that line that we don't go and over appreciate?
So be genuine in your appreciation. Flattery is another, it's an offense actually, if you flatter someone. If you want to actually destroy someone, then keep flattering. Appreciation always has to be genuine. And if you cannot have it, then at least the culture, when in our sadachar, when we learn that, okay, at least have this culture to appreciate the little things. So that's for our purification, so that we do not become too judgmental or egoistic. So we appreciate it. But we no need to artificially try to do things. So sometimes there are devotees, oh Prabhu, you are so wonderful, you are so amazing, and they don't stop. There is one devotee in our ashram like that. And okay, stop now, when you stop, the appreciation becomes boring. Sometimes it is too much that we just cannot handle it. So sometimes I tell him that, you are crossing the level of flattery. At least limit yourself a bit. But he tries to practice the principle of appreciating. So any small thing you do, he is very genuine in this. Every little thing he try to pick it, and I have not seen anyone who appreciates someone like that. He always has 10 things to say about anybody. So I feel it should be honest. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned a few, like the novel laureates and all, where it came out a few things, and it has parallels with the Vedic scriptures. So I know your background, and just want to know your realization of the parallels that you draw between the novel laureates and the knowledge that we take for granted. What I know is like the birth of the universe, for example. So they realize it's actually shorter than what they were already perceiving before the Hubble microscope went out. So that is in line with what we thought. There is no such thing as Big Bang Theory, and it happened at a time, when the universe came out with two cause. So these are slowly coming out. So I just want to know your realization. We still take parallels, we still understand through the material medium. So what do you think about it?
So, like when I first heard about this concept of quantum entanglement, I was really impressed and baffled. Also the concept of what this idea of whatever research is happening in the CERN laboratory in Switzerland. It is just, it is like they are trying to find what is the fundamental source of everything, and the atom is no longer the fundamental, and it's just gone beyond string theory now. And most may not understand, but the whole idea of qubit is that anything can have any property. So when I could just relate when Brahmaji, whatever he is praying in the Brahma Samhita, so you see, Brahma Samhita is something which Brahmaji is writing, right? Now Brahmaji is a person with pure intelligence. So when he says this Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritti Bhanti, that any of his senses can do anything, something which can, that means the physical form is not limiting the truth at any level. Like I will only able to see, right, for us. But for Krishna it does not limit. In positive definition, when you look in the linguistics of language also, every word is a limiting behavior. For example, when I say I means that which cannot eat, that which you cannot hear, that which cannot, like, what can it do? What it cannot do is too much than what the I can do. So I can do only one thing, and rest of the 1,000 things it does not do. So every word essentially, even whatever words we use, let's say water. So positively water has its property, but largely it is limiting that it only has this, it does not have any of these things. In Krishna's case, it does not have that limit. And now they are coming to this conclusion that the fundamental property of the nature itself is like that. So the words like Devi Esha, Gunamai, Devi, the words like so one scientist he says that it is just impossible to fathom now the whole physics, the idea of physics is collapsing. Now this is where they are acknowledging that this is beyond human comprehension, where they say that, and that's why they say that this idea of achintya or inconceivable is only in the Vedic literatures. No other literatures highlight this idea. So I have not realized, I'm just excited. I just feel that it is so much more than the Puranic approach of the truth. Puranic approach are the pastimes which we see, and generally we relate to the pastimes based on our human experience, right? But every Acharya he says, oh Krishna, you have this kind of hairs, your lips are like the liver fruit, and your eyes are like Pankajanaಭaya and Pankajananetraya, all these kind of things. They refer to flowers and fruits, but then they say you are achintya. Because they are trying to define Krishna with whatever beautiful is existing. But then they say still he is beyond that. So inconceivable means that, right? We cannot conceive, and let's appreciate it. So my realization is that I enjoy it. It's just beautiful. So when I see Krishna, or even today I was seeing the form of Jagannath and the Buddhism, I was just thinking about what I see is so limited. Because the form of Jagannath limits us to Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya's pastime. It is so difficult to understand other things. So, it just gives a sense of what the Upanishads are. So when scientists, they glorify Lord Shiva in a very different way in the sun. They glorify the statue of Nagaraj, which is there in the sun outside. The cosmic dance. You can fall in love with Krishna if you simply follow physics or maths. At least the Krishna's potencies. If you would know that this person appears as Krishna, one who is, then the appreciation, it's just appreciation. It's okay. What is your realization?
No question. What you say axiom is what is accepted in physics now because it's unconceivable. Only then it makes sense. So just like that, I think you just accept what Ashwara said. I don't think that there's scope to understand. So much of research being done before us. You just
It's just that the depth of our scriptures is unbelievable. So I have started appreciating these words inconceivable, unfathomable, and so on, just by reading the universe, its size, and all of that. You cannot conceive the number of atoms. There are more atoms in your body than there is the entire galaxies in the universe and the planets. Can you believe this? And each atom is a living, highly energetic particle. Yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for giving me a nice class today on Nirjala Ekadashi. Must have been difficult for you. So I have this question. I may be mistaken. I read somewhere in the purports of Prabhupada that he says not necessary to do penance and torture your body. Then some of our Maharaj and our senior devotees, they say we should live an austere life and perform austerities like today Nirjala Ekadashi. So what is the actual purpose of Nirjala Ekadashi today?
The purpose of any austerity is so that we start experiencing that there is an existence beyond the body. That is the only purpose of every breath. So when let's say we are fasting, you start automatically trying to exist without the needs of the body. So there are people who do Nirjala for Vishnu Pancham also. You actually start realizing when you do that you can exist. It's more with the mind. Of course, you cannot exist perpetually. To some extent you can exist. At least it gives you an understanding that without few things there is an existence. Mental, you start understanding, you start valuing your mind and intelligence, because if you want to fast for Nirjala Ekadashi is very easy. Many devotees do every Ekadashi Nirjala. So it's, but when you want to do Vishnu Pancham, 3, 4, 5 days, you start experiencing the power of your mind and intellect, because you have to use it. After some time, your body is still living and it can exist, but you are not used to it. So the idea of every vrata is just for that. And this is why one has to do some kind of austerity always, so that the dependency on the urges of the senses is checked a bit. Nato will be just involved continuously one after another in the sensory experiences. Truth is beyond sensory experiences, right? Adhokshaja means that one is beyond the senses. So we have to start also appreciating Krishna beyond the sensory experience. So right now we appreciate Krishna when we see, or mostly when we get prasad. So we start experiencing the truth through those kind of things, kirtan. So our experience or practice has to go that I do not need to hear or see or eat, the dependency on any senses should not be there, and still I am able to connect with Krishna. That effort has to be done. So we all do that thing for morning japa, at least. At that time, that is what is recommended. Try to connect with Krishna without the sensory dependency. At least maybe one round at least should be done like that. Or at least few mantras. Where I am nobody's father, nobody's daughter, son, husband, employer, employee, boy, girl, woman, any citizen, I am no one. Just the Atma and Paramatma. Destroy all your relationships in your mind. I don't need anything from him. All I need is to connect. Minimize the sensory experience. So in the beginning it is okay. We chant, we see the forms of Lord, but minimize it. When we say close your eyes means what? Minimizing the visual things. Because people cannot remain attentive if they don't chant loudly. So then we say, okay, chant loudly, because the mind goes. But the idea basically is where sadhana means like that. Atma in its purest form is connecting with Paramatma without the need of sensory dependence. That is what is called sadhana. So we may not be able to do all our rounds like that, but at least few mantras or something, some component must be there that way. And all forms of vrata and austerities are nothing but that, minimize them after that. In the Bhakti Yoga principle, because Kali Yuga is getting more and more intense, people are less introspective, less thoughtful, manda sumanda lakaya man bhagya, all those things are there. And therefore, Bhakti Yoga becomes a very easier and a simpler way to connect to the highest truth. So we do kirtan and all of them. These sensory things are, if you can engage them nicely, it's fine. But if doing kirtan and making others hear kirtan and then developing pride because I am the very good kirtan, destruction. Might as well you learn to be mom, silent. So, Bhakti Yoga is a brilliant concept spoken by the Lord Himself, coming to the lowest of the living beings, in the sense that because sensory dependency is there, connected to the highest truth. But then it has to be done very attentively, with a sense of humility. Because the more you utilize your senses, the ego creeps in. So some part of sadhana has to be like that. I hope it gives you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very clear. The nice point you gave about the morning japa, if you can elaborate a little bit on that one round you say you should try to do without, what exactly you are telling us?
So I'll give you my story. When I went out of the home to join the temple, I thought that I am going to now be with the absolute truth. I am going to stay with Krishna. Because that's what a temple feels like, right? When from outside it feels I am going to temple. I am going to stay with Krishna. Morning, evening I do reading, japa, seva and all. Prabhu, within 2 months, the illusion was destroyed. I started questioning myself, am I going to do this every day of my life? Just wake up, do Tulsi Arati, the whole process, Manarati, Tulsi Arati, Masanarati, then chant here, then do something. It appeared very not exciting rather. At least it made me feel that it made me feel, can we go and do this one? So, we have to start at 6:45, right?
Yes, a little bit more.
Okay. So, I started feeling that although I am staying in the temple, I am seeing Krishna, it was a great struggle to actually perceive Him. I realized that I am actually seeing a murti, stone, which is being decorated. I could see the plant Tulsi, but I could not essentially see Tulsi Devi. That's when I realized that the whole idea of the theory of just connecting superficially doesn't really work. So then I do this even today, at least one round. The first, at least when I sit for chanting. For example, right now I'm in Singapore. There is some schedule which I have to follow. But then when I sit in the morning, I am at nobody's home. I have no schedule which is important. I have no relation which is important. I have nothing of this world which is important at all. The world will keep going without me, without faith. I contemplate that way. And then at least a couple of rounds or a couple of mantras, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Few mantras, few rounds are just for the sake of the rounds. I am nobody's father, nobody's son, nobody's husband, nobody's whatever you are. All the designations which make you right now. When somebody asks you, what are you? You'll say, I'm so and so. I've been saying, I'm a CEO of so and so. All designations, right? Designation means a self-limiting behavior. So, some time of the day we should connect without designations with Krishna. I should connect with Krishna without being the in charge of any seva, or without being a kirtani or a speaker or a president or whatever. There is no seva that is important than discovering your Atma. That's the greatest seva. Everything else is supposed for just that. All the sevas, all the hearing, everything will be just to come to that conclusion. So someday, some moment, it should be there. Whether my house works nice or not, my sons and daughters listen to me, it doesn't matter. Some part of chanting must only be that Atma is sitting with Paramatma and the connecting medium is the Mahamantra. That is what I do. It doesn't work for 16 rounds, but it works for 1 or 2 rounds. You can try that. Yes, so we have a comment?
One more question.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Wonderful class. So all of what we have in ISKCON, Puja Vidhi, Arati, Prasadam, all of that is in some way sensory dependence, right? So it's sort of like feels counterintuitive to whatever you're saying. So how do we approach that? How should a devotee who's just starting out approach whatever you're saying right now?
Very good. Very nicely defined, counterintuitive. So all of us will go through this struggle sooner or later. See, I'll give you a very simple example. A newcomer comes to Krishna consciousness. He likes the lecture, he likes the whole culture. Bhakti Yoga is a highly cultural system. You get involved with Tulsi Arati, let's say, Nursing Arati, decorating the deities, dressing them, yoga, everything, right? Despite all of this, if after some time someone does not treat you nicely, let's say you are either about 100 devotees are good with you, but just one devotee or 2 devotees misbehave with you, that is enough to give up the entire process. It happens with all of us. We get disillusioned by just small things. That simply means we have actually not connected with the truth at all. We are so dependent on sensory experiences to carry on this whole culture of Bhakti Yoga. So someday we have to connect with Krishna without these things. Means, let me tell you, when you do Mangalarti here in the temple, it's always exciting. People feel exciting in temple. You should feel the same excitement when you do it at home. You should feel the same excitement doing Tulsi Puja alone. You should feel the same excitement when you sing Narsingarti alone. So let's say for a speaker, I should feel excitement just reading Shastra, irrespective of people are there to hear or not. If I'm a Kirtani, I should feel the joy of doing Kirtan, irrespective of people, irrespective of how many people are there in the assembly. So although it is counterintuitive, actually it is Krishna's way of making us go deeper and deeper. So each person try to connect that way. Essentially, spirituality cannot be a mob-driven movement. When you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is an association of devotees, but their internal character and the integrity of every personality is just mind-boggling. Like Raghunath Das Goswami, you have the Chida Dahi Festival. Look at his character when he was a donor and when he was just a person like a beggar which nobody would know, eating anything outside Jagannath temple, begging or receiving something from us. Otherwise, when someone is a great donor, sponsoring Chiradahi for millions of people, he will get attached to that identity of always being the donor. You cannot take any other position. But for him, being a donor and someone receiving alms, can you imagine what a diametrically opposite things? Having seamless execution of everything. So it is good that if you recognize it is counterintuitive, make it intuitive. Take one more step deeper, that's the whole idea. The best way is that I always tell you 51%, let's say 100% is my component of spiritual movement, journey. 51% should be my own inspiration from within. 49% can be the dependencies on, let's say, someone had asked receiving appreciation and some position, power. Why 49 and 51? Because if anything within the 49 gets disrupted, my process, my journey is not disrupted. If it is reverse, that means one single misbehavior, one disappointment that will destroy my entire journey of spirituality of 20 years of doing seva, sadhana, whatever. That means 20 years I did nothing. I was just a joke. So, everyone should do this. 51% should be self-driven, minimum 51. You cannot have lopsided 50-50, that is dangerous. So if someone is inspired to follow, not that because it is Janmashtami I will come for Mangalarti. Do Mangalarti in your house morning. If you are attached to Brahma Muhurat, you be attached, not because hundreds of people are going to come from the house. Suppose there are 100 people, let's say there are only 2 people, still will you be inspired to come every Saturday? Question yourself always. What is your attraction? What is the nature of the attraction to the process? Is it driven because of people? If it is like that, then you have to minimize it. I am not saying it should not, that's bad, but 51%, because I personally, this is my own realization you are asking. So, the more you are dependent, it's very dangerous and disruptive. Because it is Kali Yuga. You don't have rishis and munis all around. You are all sensory dependent individuals. And largely respect and honor dependent. They are not given if people don't say yes. If people don't recognize you for next 4 weeks, think what will happen. So, 51%. So should we stop here? He wants to ask something.
Time is running.
Time is running.
Are there any more questions that we need? Because we can't continue all the way. So if you have questions, I suggest you ask Prabhu directly. After this, that would be good. You need to be ready for Gorarti, and then after that we have some announcements to make. And for those who are observing Ekadashi without Hindu, there's also a feast.
Shri Prabhupada ki
Jagannath Prabhu ki
Jai.